Hey Abby, um, I just wanted to go over your narrative pieces. I really appreciated them, um, and I can tell that you really have a passion for writing. That really comes through with your pieces. So let's get started here. So this week we're going to talk a little bit about revision, and how you can not just edit your piece, but how you really go about changing it and really creating it into what you want it to be. Um, and so I'm going to start with a couple comments, and then I want to go and show you a couple of other things as well. So, right from the beginning, these first couple paragraphs, as the reader, it's very evident that you are familiar with both reading and writing in the fiction genre. As someone who also reads and really enjoys writing with the fiction genre, it was very clear that you know the characteristics and kind of those themes that usually come up um, within the genre, and it was very evident to me, and it was awesome to kind of read it. As someone who is used to reading it, there was part like halfway through that I was like not even remembering that I was reading like a student's work. It was so good. I thought I was reading a published book, and so that really should be like a great compliment for you. That I really was like, this is amazing. You followed all the same kinds of rules, and you did a really great job with that. Um, the next thing I wanted to point out, right here with your Dear Diary, when you changed the font, that's a great use of visual rhetoric. And so I linked to the Purdue OWL website. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Um, Based on your history with writing, it seems like you might be, but let me show you that just in case. This is the Purdue University online writing lab, and there's a lot of helpful things on there. I happen to just link the page that talks about their visual rhetoric and text elements, and how font choices can really impact the reader. And so, as the reader of this piece, I really appreciated that. It was clear that that was done on purpose, and um, it really helps exemplify that it's taking place in the future, and for the reader it helps separate it from the regular text and the thoughts of that character that are not the ones that are written down. And so that was a great structural choice there, and it really helped me as the reader. I wanted to also point out something else that I learned as a strategy the other day. Um, a lot of times when we go to write, especially narratives, we want to start in the beginning of the day, the beginning of the year, the beginning of something. But one strategy it said was that you could start in the middle of an action event. And so that's something that we kind of talked about in one of my classes. It's a way to really just pull your readers in right from the beginning. And I think if you chose to do something like that, it might be even beneficial to start right with Dear Diary, and you see the year, and your readers are like, oh, this is very far in the future. That kind of grabs them right from the beginning. And then you don't need to lose this information up here. You might just have to change a sentence or two. And then just place it down here. I did make a spot where if you did decide to do that, that might be a good place to put it, is right here. Because it kind of loops back to why things are different and what it's been like for her for those 3 months. And so that's just a thought, that as that was something that I heard that just kind of popped in my mind, that might work for this piece. As the reader right here, I had a couple of questions. So why is there no room left for her? Why is she an outcast in her family and in maybe even in society, so that they send her off of the planet? Is it because of the close relationship with her dad, or like any number of things? Even if you just explore that with like one more sentence, and to really go deeper into her thoughts, I think that would be very helpful for the reader to kind of give you a little more into the mindset of the character and where she's coming from. I did want to stop really quick. I meant to talk about this. This is another strategy that I think can be really helpful. Oops. It's called this radar strategy. There we go. And so when revising, this is one strategy that some people choose to use, and it's one that I've used that has worked really well for me. So when I'm going back through my paper, where do I want to replace words that aren't specific, words that are overused, sentences that are not clear? What are things that I want to add more? It really has to do with a lot of descriptors and figurative language. Things I might want to delete are things that are not clear or that are unnecessary. And maybe to reorder. So that's kind of what I was talking about. You might want to reorder that with the timing of when you introduce the diary to make sense or to flow better, or to avoid bed-to-bed writing, like starting in the day, going to sleep at night in the end. And so those are just some options for you, but I found that this strategy is very helpful for me as a writer. I wanted to show you quick when I recently just wrote a piece. This is the third time that I went through my paper. And if you see, especially right here, there is so much going on. I crossed off, I did this, I did that, I had arrows everywhere. And my friend was like, oh my goodness, how do you even know what you're doing? So I numbered it, so that when I went back, I wouldn't be as confused. But revision is messy and editing is messy. And so, like right here, I liked some of my thoughts, but I didn't like them in the order that I had them. So I just reordered everything. I added new, I took away. So like of those radar points, I did a lot of them right in those 4 sentences. And so that's just a strategy that's really worked well for me. But let's go back to your paper. Okay. Right here, as the reader, I am thinking, oh my goodness, like, it's the extraterrestrials, what happens now? And so you as the writer, you know what's happening. You know that it's going to be her father. But I want you right here to maybe even try to just take a step back and think, if you're the reader reading this for the first time, what's going through your thoughts? If you are the main character, what is going through your head right now? And so I listed some of those things here. This would fall under like the add section of radar. But does she panic? Can she hear her heart beating in her ears? You said, I think, she freezes, right? And so, is she so frozen she can't move? Is she just thinking but she can't connect it to her hands? Is there a plan for something like this? Is there a protocol with her home planet that she's supposed to follow if something like this happens? I think this would be an interesting place to maybe expand a little bit on her thoughts, and do a little bit of character development there. But overall, those are just some thoughts. I loved this piece so much. It was great. I really was engaged the whole time, and I really appreciated your writing style. And then here at the very end, I noticed that your conclusions in both pieces were very strong. They reflect kind of in some way, this one a little more. It reflects on the rest of the piece. It reflects on what happened, what's going on, and it also looks towards the future. And so I think you did an awesome job with these. As a reader, it really kind of wrapped things up for me. Even though it's still looking towards the future, if you did want to continue with this, that's definitely an open area, but it also gives me a little bit of closure because it's just like a good finale to it. So I wanted to point out some of those things. I really appreciated both of your pieces. I think that they were awesome. So now I'll go to this one. Okay. Hopefully the comments come up. Not coming up yet though. So anyways, okay, there we go. I, as your reader, appreciated how easily you were able to switch between kind of like a science fiction to more like a fantasy with like the kings and queens. I really did appreciate that. It was a very interesting switch. I didn't know what to expect, and I really did like it. So kind of again, I want you to dig into these characters' thoughts. Give me more of what they're thinking in these situations. And as the reader, I question like, what does his room look like? I wrote a little more here. Is it like happy and there's pictures of his family? Maybe he's not in them so that it doesn't look like evidence, but does he have nice things? Or is it just empty? Is there like a place for him to hide if someone came in? Try to maybe expand on that just a little more. This area of he's forced to be for 12 years. Right here, you mentioned that you wanted to work on your vocabulary a little bit. I thought, like, this is a great verb that you use here. You can say, I looked through the pages, I read a book. He leafed through the book. And so, I wrote throughout both pieces. You used some awesome vocabulary and descriptive language. If you did want some more options, one of the things I like to use is a vivid verb like checklist. And so I will look through this type of thing instead of said and did and do and is and are. I just like to look through these words and just try to give me something. And so that's an option for you if you feel like that would help. I provided that link there, so definitely check that out if you think it's something that you would want to look into. And again here, what does this make him think? What is Dylan thinking here? Is he thinking, I wish I could see this bee with my own eyes. I'm so sick of being in this basement. And going into his inner thoughts of what it's like to be isolated from the rest of the world, that would be a good place to maybe add under that radar aspect of revision. Right here, 12 years. I wrote, I would want to escape. That is crazy. As a reader, I made an instant connection to these last few months with how it was to be isolated kind of with COVID-19. And I could hardly handle a few months of it. So to imagine 12 years, your readers that are reading this after COVID who have had that experience are going to make an awesome connection there. And I don't know when you wrote this, but either way, that's a great connection that's going to happen. So great job. This whole scene was very engaging, and I was on the edge of my seat. It was very good. And then you get to the bottom here. I think my picture's over a little bit, but again, I wrote the same thing. Your conclusion is very strong. You kind of talked back to it's not about power, it's about love, it's about this. Like, it's not magic in the ways that everyone else was thinking. And that Dylan had been able to think that way for a little bit longer. And so I really appreciate that. It really wrapped it up for me as a reader. But again, if you did want to keep going with this story, it's definitely open. And so as a reader, that was a very, like a good moment. That was just like, okay, like this is good. And I really appreciated that. And so I really loved your pieces. Those are just some suggestions and some things that as your reader, I had maybe questions about or places where I feel like you could expand even more because these are really engaging pieces. And I want you to get the most out of those characters and help me feel them the most. I did want to mention, if you can see over here, I think you can see these private comments, but if not, let me know. It links to this Rochester Area Literacy Council. I know you're not right in Rochester, but this is an option at the end of this time together that you can submit a piece of writing to. So if you wanted to look into that, that's an awesome thing we're going to look at for the end of this time together. So it was great reading your pieces. I really enjoyed them, and I hope you have a great week. Bye.